Awesome. So I find myself talking about stuff in the computer more often, not so much like pedals or guitars, and I really enjoy talking about pedals and guitars. So I think that's kind of like the nature of playing guitars. You want to talk about guitars. So that being said, let's talk about my pedal board because I got it set up right there and down there. So you can kind of see what I'm doing, or just check out my pedal board settings. So this is a Temple Audio board, and I'm actually using a patch bay. You can kind of see over to the right side a little bit, top right. I'm just plugging my cable and my stuff into my pedal board itself, and then from there, my pedal board is kind of wired in a way where I don't need to be plugging things into pedals that often. It's kind of set it and forget it. So unless I'm traveling and stuff and I have my pedal board knobs bumped, I'm not really plugging things in or changing any settings, which is very convenient. So this is actually powered by a Strymon Zuma. It's a beastly power supply, with more than enough power to do this. So let's talk about signal chain and how I'm getting sound from the guitar into the computer. So first off, I'm playing my Gretsch today, as I usually do. I got a few other guitars back here that I don't play as much, but I still love those guys. So just playing the Gretsch, and this is in C-sharp standard tuning. So this is my clean tone, nothing on except for a little bit of room reverb. Neat. So the first thing in my chain from the patch bay is my buffer. So the buffer is going to tell, actually this is a buffer by, this one's mine, Effects. It's an independent pedal maker. I just reached out to him and said, hey, can I have a buffer? He said, sure, for $50. So I bought a buffer from him. What it does is it essentially tells my guitar, stop trying to push the signal however many 30, 40 feet of cable. The first thing in this, like the only thing my guitar really sees is the 6-foot patch cable or the 6-foot lead that I have running from my guitar into my first pedal. So without a buffer, you tend to have signal loss. You lose some high frequencies. So this just kind of helps me keep that there. It's one of those things you'll never really know unless you have it. I mean, it's kind of hard just to like say, oh, that guy doesn't have a buffer, because you can't really tell. After that, I have the SP Compressor by Exotic Effects. This pedal is kind of neat because it has a kind of like a blend knob. Actually, that's what it is. It's a blend knob and kind of like a high, medium, low toggle switch. So I have it on medium, middle, blend, you know. It's not really doing much. That's an always-on pedal. I don't touch it. So next in the chain is the Micropog, and this has a few purposes. Again, I really don't change the settings on that one unless I'm really just kind of dying to try out, oh, what's a sub-octave sound like through this effect or whatever. So that I use primarily for like lead and really lead and swells. So if I'm playing a ripping guitar solo and I want it to like cut through the mix, I'll click on the Micropog and it'll give me an octave up and a little bit of an octave below to thicken the tone. And I like that for swells because it kind of has like an organy harmonic sound. Next up is the JHS Morning Glory, and this one, God bless JHS pedals and the fact that I live in Kansas City, because I just sent this to them and they ended up switching out the foot switch. So they replaced that free of charge because they had a lifetime warranty, and good for them. I'm proud of them for taking care of that so quickly. Good for me, actually. But so I just got this one back, and I'm happy to have it back because this is my favorite. Sounds amazing, and I use the crap out of it. So it's my stage 1, and it's a transparent overdrive, so it sounds really stinking good. Like, it doesn't change the tone of my guitar other than like breaking it up a little bit. So here's clean. JHS Morning Glory. I love that. So you'll notice on the bottom row, those are my overdrives. And these three actually, I have them so they stack into each other. So, you know, I'm not typically going to have the OCD with nothing else on. I'm going to have like the Morning Glory into the OCD. But basically, that's kind of my philosophy is I like stacking these. Now, the 1981 Inventions DRV, this I've discovered sounds really good without, you know, stacking it. So I'll save that one for last. But so my stage 2, stage 1 is going to be just Morning Glory. Stage 2 is going to be OCD. Now, of course, I'm on the neck pickup right here, so if I switch over to the bridge, I'll probably raise the volume on that a little bit. Cool. So that's my stage 2. For stage 3, man, this is weird because I like this pedal so much by itself, but the way I have my pedal board set up, I really tend to stack it more. So here is the 1981 DRV. If you're familiar with Reliant K, one of their lead guys, Matthew Hoops, put this pedal out a couple years ago, and it's been killing it. It sounds great. So that's by itself. Let's hear what it sounds like stacked. So here's stage 2. It just sounds good. I mean, the pedal sounds good. It kind of loses some tone whenever I do stack it like that, which is why I feel like this was almost made to be a standalone, don't stack it kind of pedal. It just sounds good, though. I like it. So next up is my volume. Nothing fancy here, just a VP Junior. I broke the string on it, so it has the Kevlar like string that doesn't break, or it should never break in my entire lifetime. So going from the volume with my breakout into my always-on tuner, volume into my Strymon Mobius. Now the Mobius has a ton of presets, endless capabilities. I use it for like 3 things, which I know is kind of a letdown to some people. But basically, my first one's going to be tremolo, chorus, and a boost. When I say boost, it's actually a bit crusher with the mix kind of turned down, but it just kind of boosts the signal a little bit. So here's the boost. So that's the boost signal. I play with that a lot on my own time, where I kind of just, bit crusher's fun to play with, especially with guitar, because you're so used to bit crusher being on other stuff. So here's my tremolo. Yeah. I have a chorus effect on another page of the Mobius, but I really don't use it that often. Another fun one that I play with quite a bit, just to be kind of quirky and dumb, is a touch wah. I will never use that ever. I'll find a place to use that sometime. So that's the Mobius. The timeline is next, and the timeline I know has, just like the Mobius, tons of presets. I use probably 3 or 4 of them. I like digital delay whenever I'm doing ambient stuff because it sounds good. It all sounds good, but digital delay is one of my favorites. I use a dotted eighth tape delay, which sounds good whenever I'm playing like rhythmic stuff. My most common one is actually going to be a stereo delay, so it's going to be like dotted eighth and a quarter note. So it's going to be like a da 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 da, kind of a rhythmic. Here, I'll play that. Actually, that's not it. So if you're listening on headphones or a stereo system, you're going to hear it's bouncing. It's not bouncing between them, but it's going to sound like it's da 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 da. So it kind of adds some more interesting delays. But a cool one I don't play with enough, which I am probably going to play with more than now that I say that. Reversed. That's a reversed, I think, quarter note or dotted eighth. But it's just kind of a cool. It's kind of eerie, but I'll leave it for this for now. That's pretty modest. Now, the last thing in the chain, and probably one of the most important things, because it's my really always on, I never turn it off for actually anything, is my Big Sky. So the Big Sky has, again, hundreds of presets. I use 3, because that's kind of how music goes right now in my world. My first preset, I have them labeled rhythm, lead, and swell. Let's hear what rhythm sounds like. So this is like my normal tone. Turn off delay. It's about a 1.5 second. It says 1.78. Medium mix, pretty dark. So it's not going to be like interfering if I play. But my lead tone is actually a little bit more intense. It's got a little bit longer of a decay time, a pre-delay, so whenever I do strike a note, it kind of like whoosh. So it kind of like pushes the notes forward. And I'll give a demonstration of my lead tone. So it's pretty much the exact same reverb as my rhythm, except pre-delay and a little bit longer time. The mix is also a little bit different. The thing that changes the most between the two settings is the Big Sky has the feature to add or remove volume. So I have like a 2 decibel boost on my lead tone, which front of house guy loves because I don't have to tell him, hey, I'm playing a solo, turn me up, because I can do that for him. Now, as long as during sound check, I'm not going to be, playing my quiet volume and then like suddenly out of nowhere I'm clipping and everyone has their ears blown away. So that is my lead tone. And swells, this is where it gets kind of fun. Just a long hall reverb. Now, one of my friends taught me to use Cloud because it's a cool setting as well. I'm so used to playing with the hall reverb that trying to swell otherwise. So here's just a... Nothing too fancy there. 13-second decay time, pretty medium mix. If you're looking to try it out, this kind of stuff, you don't need any of these pedals. I mean, you might need a delay and reverb, but that's about it. The rest of your stuff is really dependent on how you play what you play. That's a whole talk on its own. But a killer feature on this thing is the cab filter, and this will never get the love it deserves. I don't think it will because it's like such a cool feature. You'll notice whenever you play direct into a computer or something like that, it sounds pretty awful. So here it is with the cab filter. And And this is without, especially with reverbs and overdrives and stuff. It sounds fake. I'm sure tone like that has its place, but it's probably not in music. I just think guitar always sounds better through like an amp modeler. Now, personally, I find myself, if I have more knobs, I'll play with it more. So rather than having a separate, I'm not justifying this is just me thinking, rather than having a separate amp modeling pedal, like the Iridium, that's on my shopping list, or my wish list, I should say. In the foreseeable future, maybe. But without those kind of parameter changes and stuff, I just play guitar, and I don't worry about what the amp sounds like, because it's, I don't know, if it sounds good, it is good to me. Now, I do have a little secret that I use sometimes, is whenever I am doing like those 30-minute one takes, I do apply some sort of tube compression in Logic, and it allows the tone to kind of break up a little bit more. So rather than having like an amp pedal, I use Supercharger GT by Native Instruments. It sounds great. It sounds amazing for what it does. It's just a tube compressor that allows you to get that tube saturation like you were running through a tube amp. But yeah, I don't have any real amp modelers on my board. Everything I get is from overdrives. And the key is to actually set your like amp and then adjust your overdrive pedals into that, or your distortion pedals into the, preset drive, from the amp modeler. So that's, roughly a 15, 18-minute video on my pedal board. It's kind of quick and dirty. I could go spend a 30-minute video on each of these pedals, and what I do with them and why I have them set how I do. Essentially, I wanted to have a pedal board that I could have tons of effects, which is why I have the Strifecta on the top left. I got a few more ideas of what I'm going to do with this, but I think this is going to be more than plenty for now. I haven't changed anything in about 2 years, and I don't know. I probably won't change anything for a little while. I'll see what happens, but for the most part, I like how it is, and it sounds great. So if you have any questions, or you like talking about this stuff, if you have any suggestions on what I should try next, pedalboard-wise, drop a comment down below, and I'll get back to you. And I enjoy this stuff. This is fun. I like talking about it. All right, thank you, and see you next time.